What if the creative process was as addicting as a video game? In today's video, I'm going to share 3 systems you can implement today to gamify your creative process. This will ensure motivation never runs dry and creative ideas flow seamlessly from your mind. Bonus points for making everything a bit more fun too. So let's dive in. First up, create a level up system. There's nothing more satisfying to the human brain than progress. Studies have shown people are more creative and feel motivated when they're making progress toward a goal. RPG game makers figured this out decades ago by being the first to incorporate level up systems. Now, just about every modern day game has one. So why not add one to your creative process? When we make progress, a chemical in the brain called dopamine gets released. And dopamine is it's a neurotransmitter that anticipates reward. So when dopamine gets released in the brain, it's signaling to you that ooh, something good is coming. Keep going. It's not necessarily the reward itself, but it is motivating you towards that big payoff. So when you are tracking your progress, when you gamify this visual tracking system, you're creating a way for your brain to start releasing drips of dopamine to keep you motivated going towards that goal, because your brain is realizing that there's something coming. You're going to get that big payoff if you just keep going. Game developers have used this for decades. I remember spending hours playing World of Warcraft and stuff like that, just trying to level up, because you'd see the little bar go up. You're like, man, if I just do one more quest, I can level up before I go to bed. And it's that little motivating dopamine drip going on in your brain that's kind of just keeping you going. So having a visual tracking progress, instant unlock for motivation. For instance, I do a lot of different types of creative work. I play in a band, I also do graphic design work, and then I write a newsletter and I make these YouTube videos. So there's a lot of different things that are going on. And one of the more boring things that I got to do, or at least can be boring on the surface of it, is reading, taking notes, and doing research to make videos like this. And so one of the ways I gamified that part of the process is I started creating a visual tracker for every time I take notes. So I have these little field note memo books, right? Where every day I'll create main quests with little checklists and side quests. So these are tasks. Whenever I do these tasks, I check the box and I get that little dopamine drip from the visual progress, right? And then I take notes and I ask myself questions and stuff. And every time I do it, I put a little progress bar there. See? And that's my level. I made an actual level up system, right? So right here, I'm level 10. So this is one of the ways I gamified my more boring parts of the creative process. And it's kept me highly motivated to stick with notes. I don't know why I can't figure this out. Look, see? And then I level up. Boom. And it's just fun. It's exciting, right? So I have a bunch of these. I've been using this method for months. And it's allowed me to consistently, literally every single day, I get tasks done, I mark it as done. I get notes taken, and I level up my creative skills, right? So it's just a quick little easy dopamine hack, essentially. You just gamify learning, gamify the creative process, instant motivation. Plus, who doesn't like a cool little flip book? It's fun. The other thing is, it wouldn't be leveling up if there wasn't a reward, right? In a video game, when you level up, you get to add new skill points, or your stats increase, or whatever it is. So what'll happen is after I'm done filming and making this video today, what am I going to do? I want to play some Final Fantasy VII. I'm going to go reward myself by doing the creative work. And that's that nice little ooh, there's a treat at the end of this. And that is another way to gamify this experience. You could do more long-term rewards where maybe after 30 days of practicing your guitar every day, you treat yourself to buying a new video game, or you buy a new whatever it is. Maybe you go to the movies, or you go to Disneyland, something to reward yourself for your efforts. That way you're not just rewarding yourself for just existing, right? You're not just buying yourself new things just because you can. You're attaching it to something that's meaningful. You're making progress, and by making progress, not only are you getting better and you're getting more creative work done, but you're also rewarding yourself for those efforts. It's okay to reward yourself. It's actually a really good, motivating thing to do. The second system to gamify the creative process is to add challenges and rules. All games have some rules and some element of challenge baked into them. If they didn't, they wouldn't be as satisfying to play. That's because humans thrive when they feel they're pushing their boundaries and growing. So every game has its constraints. It has its rules, its limitations, and then the innovation happens within that set of rules. And there's that old saying of think outside the box, right? And I actually don't think it's that good for creativity, because if you're thinking outside the box with no limitations, like anything's possible, well, it's like if anything's possible, nothing's possible. Like, what am I supposed to do with anything? It's like, look at a blank piece of paper and create something. Well, now you have choice overload. There's all this anxiety like, oh, what do I make? I don't really know where to start. And constraints, rules, some level of parameters to kind of like guide the process are actually really good for the creative process. A little bit of limitation goes a long way for enhancing creativity. But what you don't want is so many rules that like creativity stifled, like where you feel stressed, right? So like a good example of limitations that aren't good is a time frame that's unrealistic. So like, let's say you have to get a logo done for a client or something like that, but they want it done by the end of the day. And you can't get it done by the end of the day. You can't get a really good piece of work done that quickly. You need some more time to flesh out some ideas. That would be a bad creative constraint. But let's say you had 2 weeks, so enough time to maybe get something reasonable out. But they wanted you to specifically make a logo that incorporated an eyeball and a sword. Okay, strange, but let's go. Now that's the creative constraint. That's the frame from which you start thinking about ideas and solutions to this problem. And that alone in itself will dictate the types of ideas and the type of creative thinking that you're able to do. And it makes it like a game. Like, ooh, how could I make a logo out of an eyeball and a sword? I hadn't really ever thought about that before. And you can imagine a world where you just change the constraints and all of a sudden you're changing the creative potential of the thing that you're doing. So, instead of a sword, a rhino. Okay, so I have to make a logo with an eyeball and a rhino horn. Okay, well, that's a whole different set of ideas that I'm about to explore. So the constraints, in a way, the rules, in a way, dictate, like they form the innovation that's possible. And one of the reasons we're always so fascinated with watching sports is, one, it's real time, so you never know what's going to happen. So there's almost like that like gamblers thing, like, ooh, what's going to happen, right? But the other thing is sports have really clearly defined rules and parameters of the game. And there's very clear expectations of how you win and what's done to achieve that. But the reason sports is so interesting is because the best players, the top of the top, always find ways to innovate within that set of rules. There's always that person who comes along, that Tiger Woods, that LeBron, the Michael Jordans, who just changed the game fundamentally. The rules haven't changed. They've figured out a new way to play the game within that set of rules. And that is only possible when there are rules, when there are limitations, because that forces them to think creatively about how they're going to become the best version they can within those parameters. So I just want to get away from that thinking of like creativity needs to be unconstrained and free and just like open to roam, and that's the best way to get to creative ideas. I actually think it's quite the opposite. I think with the right amount of constraints, it can really enhance your ability to think about things creatively. Competing with yourself is another great way to elevate and gamify the creative process. It can be highly motivating to beat your own previous best score or beat the game on a higher difficulty, right? Some of us, like I play games on very hard mode if they have it, whatever. There's a game series I really love called Fire Emblem. They have a difficulty called Maddening that's incredibly challenging for most people. And that's the way I like to play that game. I don't play it on normal mode because it's not challenging enough. And I like to, if I'm going to spend time playing a game, I want it to be a challenge so I can feel like I'm growing towards my potential. And on the subject of constraints, think about it. When you play a game on a harder difficulty, the same strategies that would beat the game on normal mode no longer work. On a harder difficulty, you have to innovate and think of new strategies to overcome the set of challenges presented to you. And so when you are in competition with yourself, when you're challenging yourself to push further, what you're doing is you're creating a mechanism, a demand for innovation within your own skill set that's going to push you to higher levels than you would otherwise. If you're just picking up your guitar and you're just playing the same thing over and over again, you're not really going to get that far, right? You're not going to create that next new piece that's going to really bring out the best in you. But if you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to write a song with these constraints, and I'm going to make sure I play it at a speed that is going to challenge myself. And by doing that, you're going to unlock new ideas, new strategies for accomplishing this goal that you otherwise might not have. The final system you can add to gamify your creative process is a storyline. Storyline is a feature of games that I never really appreciated growing up. I used to just play the games for the fun of it. But as I've gotten older, I've realized the storyline is kind of like the heart and soul of the game. And without it, the games are kind of meaningless, right? You don't really remember the games that don't have a really strong storyline. They might have been fun for a few moments, but they don't last in your mind. They don't emotionally connect with you. You can gamify the creative process by creating a storyline of your own. If your artwork can inspire somebody, that's a bigger purpose than yourself. That's a story that you can kind of start to, I'm doing this because it might help somebody else. I'm doing this because it has the potential to inspire somebody else. I'm doing this because it's bigger than me. It's not just about me. It's about the other people that it can impact. And a lot of people might not think about this opportunity when they're doing the creative work. They might be thinking about themselves. Like, how can I do the best work? Will people like my work? And it's about me. But you can flip that script and you can create a storyline. It's a narrative. Think about yourself from like a third party perspective for a moment. Think like, you're just another person in the world and you're doing this creative thing. And this creative thing has the potential to help people, has the potential to inspire people, has the potential to change lives. And so when you have this greater purpose in your work, it increases the motivation to do the work, to show up every day. Because if you're showing up every day because, oh, I like doing art and it's kind of fun for me, but you don't really have that greater sense of purpose. You don't feel like your art's doing anything in the world. You don't feel like the art's helping anybody or creating a financial income for you or helping support your family or something. Then at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard to stay motivated to continue to do art unless you like truly love it, which is cool. If that's you, that's awesome. But most people will that passion will slowly start to fade away, because they'll start to question the meaning of it. Like, why am I doing this? I spend so much time on this. What is it doing for me, right? And it's kind of a selfish way to think about it. A more powerful way to think about it is, what can your creative work do for somebody else? How can it help somebody else? How can it impact the world, the culture? And if this sounds grandiose and delusional, like, whatever. Maybe it is, but make that storyline, gamify it. It's your story to create, and that story can inspire other people. It doesn't have to be this selfish act. It could be an act of giving, a bigger act than yourself. Once you have a storyline to play through, the next question is, who can you recruit to your team? Working with other people toward a shared vision can be incredibly motivating. Creative ideas just flow so much better when you have a team of people who are motivated by the same thing. They have the same shared values, and they care about the same things, and they want to work towards the same goals. I mean, working with my band has been so awesome. I mean, we all want the same thing. We want to be well-known local acts. We want to create great music, and we want to create amazing experiences for the people that come out to our shows. Every show that we have, we are always thinking like, how can we make it a good time for them? And one of the best ways we could do it is to be really good ourselves, right? Put on an amazing performance, write music that's emotionally impacting for them that they might enjoy, and then on the show date, be prepared and have fun and make it a fun time for them. We have the same values. We want everyone at the show to have a good time. And that's another way to gamify the process. Most people don't think of it that way, but it is. You're creating a team, like your little RPG team of characters that are going to go save the world with your music or whatever. So another way you could do this is like join a group, right? If you're into writing, find a writers group and start connecting with those people. Or maybe you start building a social media and you find a community that you can interact and get feedback from. This is totally going to help with creative thinking. You're going to come up with better ideas once you start bouncing ideas off other creative, like-minded people. But it's also going to help with motivation, because these other people are going to help you stay accountable on those days where you don't really feel like showing up. Those people will be there to be like, hey, I know what you're going through. I've gone through the same thing. Try this out. Come on, I've got your back. You can do it. And you're going to have that extra little lift when you need it. So like, all right, let's get after this. I know you have my interest in mind because we have the same values and we're towards the same purpose. So yeah, Go do some meetups, take some classes, whatever you got to do. Find work in a relevant field, whatever you got to do to get around those people that have that same shared vision as you. All right, there you have it. 3 systems you can incorporate to gamify your creative process. Remember, keep leveling up your skills, add increasing challenge and creative constraints, create your own storyline, and consider recruiting a team to kick some ass. If you have any methods you like to use to gamify the creative process, drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear them, maybe try some of them out. That's it for today. Take care.